we gotta watch those motives because that design is now
They
capital
want to keep you
related.
in the app. They want to keep you there
They keep
and
you
not
there, and
not
right.
climbing a tree like those goddamn
So-
conservative kids.
so-
Stop with the conservative kids. I don't know who you are and why you're making them, but for the love of God, stop putting your kids, have them go climb a tree. I don't want some 11-year-old telling me Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. We already know it. I don't need an 11-year-old to tell me, go climb a tree. Sorry.
No, bring it. Bring it.
Transitioning into like the second part of what we're going to be talking about, which is sort of like,
Sure.
which is so
Please.
poetic because you're like, I knew that day I had to go out there and your mom's instilling in you that it's okay to be smart and you have these encyclopedias and read and now you're like holding on to those memories and now you frigging teach for UNC Chapel Hill and NYU.
Yeah.
At the highest level, two of the most prestigious colleges in the country, and you have your doctorate. You're Dr. Stephen J. McConnell right now.
I appreciate all
Isn't that wild, though?
It is wild. It is wild. Now I'm gonna have a little caveat though. I am still working on myself though. I still see it as part of a process and getting
We're
better.
always
and
evolving. I
and
get
always
it.
evolving.
But you can stop and
but-
you can stop and look at the roadside that you've traveled
Which-
on and say,
which is
that's
something
pretty cool.
I do got to get better at. I really enjoy teaching for both those schools. I have excellent students that I thoroughly enjoy the experience and the learning that we have. And for UNC, I teach journalism, which I was a journalist.
That's right.
So it's
Work for
very
the paper,
fulfilling
Yeah.
to now be on that side of it. And now imparting knowledge, speaking of what we're talking about. And then at NYU AI, which we'll get into, I'm sure.
I can't
in a
wait
little
to
bit.
talk about
And that's
that.
like a whole, now we're thinking about like growing up in the 90s where we're at right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, artificial intelligence. It's such a weird, that's why you got to say AI, because it's so weird when you say artificial intelligence.
It's like there's another being in the room,
Right?
but apparently it's artificial.
That's right. But that's
For
like-
now.
Yeah, exactly.
For now, until it
'cause
starts having feelings and, you know.
we joked before we started recording with Dan, I was like, because I wanted to prove my point to you, what you and I were talking about yesterday as we were thinking about today. And I was like, when people hear the word AI, their brain says ChatGPT in the same way that when you thought I need a tissue, you said I need a Kleenex.
Yep.
And so like that became sort of the lingo. And then you dropped a bomb on me yesterday. I had no idea because I was talking to you about just
I'm sorry.
how much I was using ChatGPT or whatever. And you're like, and I'm like, oh, I wrote this email because a lot of times I was on here sharing about my Carnival experience with the cruise ship. And I had this traumatic event happen at the end with it. And I was so emotionally fueled at the time. And I wanted to get something out immediately that I knew I couldn't write the email because if I was writing it, my fat fingers on my goddamn phone would have been like pressing anywhere. So I put the rant into ChatGPT and I said, I need an eloquent email to Carnival and to this about what just happened here so that like we can get our bags back and we can get some resolution to this. And it kicked out for me this beautiful email that led to it took more after that, but led to a series of events that we not only made sure it doesn't happen to other autistic families on Carnival, but we also got our money back and get to go on another cruise now because of that. And I was thinking about how powerful, and then you're like, oh, well, did you use ChatGPT you should use 4.5 for that because if you drop down to the model, it's in beta, it's like reference testing, but it's going to take more time. And I was like, what are you talking about? So like, I don't think people realize that like you go to ChatGPT, they're just going to whatever the default is, which is probably like what, 3.0?
4.0.
4.0.
4.0.
And then, but there's other models that do other things. So the 4.5 is the one that you told me yesterday, and correct me if I'm wrong, was like,
You're right
it's
on.
it's going to take its time. It's not going to kick it back in a 0.36 thing because it's going to check more sources. It's going to check itself. It's going to do the Steve McConnell. It's going to print the paper out. It's going to pencil check the draft, and then it's going to redo it.
That's right. That's right. Some differences though, like the 4.5 will help with writing. It's very good, but it'll be quick. That's not the one that
It did
will
kick. I
reason.
tested it yesterday when we were in the car. It did kick it back pretty quick.
That quick. The the reasoning models, the O3 that you'll see there, it's a little drop down.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that will do more intensive thinking and work on your problem. And those were the ones where throwing a more complicated issue or analysis at them is good, because they will think through it and it will take 5 minutes or so to get through it.
So if you're on the phone, so if anybody you were listening and you're wondering about this, if you open the ChatGPT app at the very top of the screen,
That's right.
when you touch where it says whatever 4.0 is on, then it kicks down like the other ones, and you have to hit more models on my phone anyways to get to the 4.5.
And this is where, like, when I'm teaching it, we're into let's see, how do I say this? Technology software rewires our mind, and we become habituated to kind of flowing with how it's designed. So I think for a little while now, we're in the Google mindset. We find that box, we type in it, and we click search. We're taking that same approach with ChatGPT. We're finding that box, typing in it, but we recognize it's different now. We're going to have a conversation. And what I teach my students at NYU is we got to kind of rewire now to this next mindset where, and this is part of what we're doing, conversing with the model, which we didn't converse with Google.
Yeah.
And then the next kind of steps is, go in there and like find these little features or these little drop downs where you might find some more functionality that could really empower things that you need work with. But we gotta get out of that mindset and be like, you know what, there's some other little features here. Let me find them and kind of click on them and test them. But we're not acclimated to that flow. Social media, open the apps, we do this. This is new, so we have to rewire and try to figure out like how to make it work, how to get our mind in tune with this technology that behaves differently.
It's so interesting because as you're saying, that made me think. There was a TED Talk I used to show my students in middle school and high school, and it was a short one. It was only like 5 minutes. So it was like 5 Ways to Kill Your Dreams was the name of it. And it was this woman named Belle Pesque, who was like a girl from Brazil or somewhere. Sure. And it was obviously facetious, but it was like, one of the first way was like believe in overnight. You want to kill your dreams, believe in overnight successes was like one. But then another one was believe that somebody else has the answer for you. And that's how I fear, and I think your fear is how people are using ChatGPT is in a range where we're not like having a dialogue with it. We're just shooting our problem in there and saying, I'm not even going to take a minute to contemplate it and start the ball. I'm just going to throw it in there and see like what it kicks out.
Agree. I mean, we still want to make sure we have contemplation, reflection, and that intensive thinking that sometimes hurts.
Yeah.
Like we talked about with comedy. We still got to learn that comedy craft. Go to the shows, think about comedy, sit down and spend that time writing that joke and working through it and fleshing it out and structuring it so it lands, and all that thinking that we do is so important. And make sure that we don't have those models take all that away from us, and then we're not sharpening our mind for those moments, whatever they might be, from comedy to writing to journalism. Right?
I wonder a lot too, because I'm wondering as I'm hearing people like do jokes now, I'm wondering how much like, are they going to ChatGPT? Because I couldn't imagine, like especially me, because I talk so personally about my family and my experience. Sure. That like, but I can imagine if somebody's starting. Here's a perfect example of how I used it yesterday on the fly that I was like, I thought you'd be proud of, and I didn't get to share this with you yet. Good. So I was driving to the gig last night, and I had sold a little amp monster set to another comic who produces his own shows. It's a nice little amp. It hooks up to a Bluetooth speaker, easy to carry, and it has some power to it. Actually, I originally got it because I DJ'd a gay wedding for one of my mom's friends a couple of years ago, and they had been together forever, like my mom's era, but just stayed in the closet so long, and now finally they got married and had a ceremony, and
thank goodness.
Which is more. I'm so upset that my mom didn't get to do that.
It just took too long.
Yeah. But in any event, that's how I had it. So I sold it to this other comic because I didn't need it. I have a bigger system now. And he calls me because he's an older guy. And he calls me and he's like, it's blinking. All the lights are blinking on the interface. Like he was trying to describe it to me. And like, I'm like, I have no idea how to like help him with this. And so then I pulled up ChatGPT because I did this with my mom the other day. And I shared this with you. My mom like had a thing where she was using her phone, using an app that she thought was a free game, and then all of a sudden it's doing charges to her credit card through PayPal, and you're like, oh my, so like, and she's all emotionally charged.
And we're dealing with their day, and maybe we're tired. I think these are great cases.
So then I said, I knew I had to go over there because I need could go help her. So before I went over there, I said, "Hey, ChatGPT, my 71-year-old mom has done an app that she thought was a free game, and now this happened, and her PayPal was sent an account this. How can I help her?" And it kicked out 5-step process, no emotion, so that I could just go in there.
That's right.
So, because I knew she'd be standing over me, and if I was trying to trial and error it and getting frustrated, and she's standing over me, I'd have said stuff that would have ruined our relationship.
And it gave you a solution.
It gave me a solution.
And
I executed, and we were done, and I was out within 10 minutes.
And you're not, in this case, this is where it's contextual. You're not looking to be an expert in that.
No.
You just need a quick answer.
I just don't
Or
want to
like-
feel like I have to have the files already in my brain, like I'm MacGyver or something.
And then also exhaust your thinking. You
Yeah.
need to free it up, solve the problem, and then move on to, let's say, what you love to do, comedy. And that's where, yeah,
Because that's how education was founded, on one-room schoolhouses, a sage on a stage, and we're finally getting away from that, where we're like, hey, can we empower the students to be sous chefs with us instead of us being like the know-it-all chef? Can we empower us all to make this meal, and then we can sit down at the table together to enjoy it?
that's where it's going to go.
I think that's what, and it's this.
But
is
we
helping
have
us.
to, but we have to rewire, because this is brand new. I mean, this is a whole different way of learning, thinking, doing. That's about, at least in this scale, 2 years old.
So, like, even the other store with the comic
2 years
last
old.
night, I pumped that in, and I'm going to pretend that I was parked and not driving while I did this. And so when I popped it in there,
I didn't hear anything.
yeah, we're going to edit that out. Mark that down.
There was a buzz.
Yeah, it's like, what? Beep. So and then it was like, oh, what model? And so then I'm on Amazon. I'm looking up the model number, and I'm like, because I'm like, oh, it has a hard reset if you hold down like the Bluetooth and the power button. And then he's like, oh, I don't see a power button. And so now I'm like, where's? Then I'm asking Jeff, he doesn't see the power button. Where's the power button? He's like, well, it depends on the model. And then I saw it showed me the icon above it, and it like kicked it out. And then I'm like, and I was able to like take a screenshot of the Amazon photo, circle the 2 buttons, and shoot it to him, and just be like, hold those 2 down for 15 seconds.
And that's another great case in which you are not looking to be that expert,
yeah,
right?
I just want a solution
You're
for a
not.
friend who's frustrated.
You're not
Yeah.
at all. And I feel, though, if we could hit that like good fit point where we're learning our craft, where we have a desire to get better at, we're doing that grind, and recruit this model to help us in that process, that could really lead to some big breakthroughs. For example, when I was a reporter, that some of that writing was a little rough. I had editors, but sometimes they were busy, or they're like, "Oh God, I don't know if I have time to work on Steven's story." I do wish that I had an AI then to be like, "Here's where you could be better. Here's where you can critique. Here's some works you should look at to improve, and let's have that conversation." However, I'm still gonna have to sit down and write that story.
Yes. Do it well.
With that, maybe giving me a suggestion or two along the way. I like, that's one case, but it's contextual. Maybe, hey, maybe your writing isn't your thing, but now this model helps you write, and now you can send your message to the world.
Yep.
You're not looking to be an expert in writing, but now you have voice. I also like that democratic potential of it as well. But we all have to meet that moment in our ways, and I think ways that we all kind of win is what I'm looking for.
And here's a beautiful example that I saw. This year was rough for me. I had 3 rough Spanish classes. They were fine. They just, when I say rough, it's just like it was like riding a bull for 45 minutes, and then you just got 3-minute break, and you had to ride the bull again for 45 minutes, and you can't fall off. As the teacher, you can't fall off.
Nope.
So you got to find a way to grit and get through it, and hope learning somehow happened in there. But when I would get to the third period of the day, because they're right in a row, my desk and where I ended my day was in her room, and she was the sweetest woman. She's a saint. She's a classic quintessential mom who always takes care of her kids, and then that just permeates into like her whole life. She takes care of people. She's such a sweetheart. That's why she's a great teacher. And her name's Kelly Joyce. Without her, I would not have survived this year. Just ending my day with her, or us having the 10 minutes before, like at the end of the day before we could leave and after the kids left, just being in the same room with her, and me being able to vent. And even if I was bitter and angry that day, she would hold her resolve of being sweet and positive. And I needed that. I needed that counterbalance. So we were talking about AI because it was becoming a thing in education now. And so what she does with her French students is they first write it. They write the essay, whatever, the prompt. And then they copy and paste the text into ChatGPT with the prompt of, hey, I'm in French 1. Yep. Can you give me some ideas of things I should work on? and then provide me with a couple ways to practice that.
That's a great flow.
And then all of a sudden then they have to turn in the activity that ChatGPT gave them to do. And so now it's like we're not telling us to do it. We're not bypassing our brain like like Google Maps, and we like Michael Scott drive into a river because we're not going to use our brains to know we shouldn't turn down that way.
Which we don't want that to happen.
But how many times does that happen with
then
Google
we-
Maps? How
then
many
we-
times have you been on the road? You think you're going on the right road, and then there's like 3 little roads, and you can't
That's
figure out
right.
which is the right one, and you always take the wrong one.
And then we drive into the river. We don't want that.
Or we're on a different route now. We're pissed because now it's added 20 minutes to our thing because we can't. The next exit's like 40 miles down before you can turn around.
And then what I want to say too is that's a great case.
Yeah.
100% right there.
That's
That's it.
So I think, obviously
That's it.
you're going to have people like think about the internet and social media because that's another aspect that you said something to me yesterday that blew my mind because I've been
I'm
getting
very sorry.
I've been getting I was getting caught up in like TikTok.
I might have
'cause
had too
I'm
much
on
Red
all
Bull
the-
yesterday.
I'm on all the things, doing all the comedy things, posting, and I love putting out content, but like I also hate when I see other people's content that like the rage bait content, and I didn't realize that you were telling me the algorithm of TikTok. You said it was, you used the word vicious, and I was curious. I was like, oh, what did you mean? And then you went on to explain that what you meant was it's so good at telling what hooks you based on like how long you linger, or if you haven't quite swiped it away yet and you're holding on for that extra second, then it's like, oh, he at some level likes this
Yeah.
and is going to keep giving. So even the ones that I haven't followed, but if I've lingered on theirs for a second, they still show up in my feed.
I forget how I characterized it yesterday, but I think it's the idea that it does have underlying AI technology as well.
Yeah.
That's part of it. But it's very sophisticated in being able to detect your behaviors, your tastes, your values to give you content you like.
Yep.
To such a degree, like you mentioned, that if you slow down over content, that's a signal point to say John must be somewhat interested in this.
John's my government
to at
name, in
least-
case you're wondering.
Sorry,
No, that's fine. No, I've talked about it on here before.
that you have that John, you're
Yeah, no, you call me John. It's fine.
has maybe some interest in this, and that's pretty sophisticated. Now,
Yeah.
I see like all these things. There's a lot of great uses there. Who doesn't? We all like things. We like when things are personalized to us.
Yeah, but
That's a great thing.
well, think about even just that
That's-
scenario you said for there real quick. Like
That-
you're like, oh, they linger a little bit longer. That'd be like if I owned an antique shop and I saw you were walking, but you slowed down next to this credenza, and I jump on you. Oh, you
And-
like that credenza? That's what it's essentially doing.
That's right, and that's what I was getting into when we were talking about this yesterday. Another way to say that's surveillance.
Yeah,
That's a surveillance of your behaviors.
but it's so much more perceptive than the human eye would be.
1,000 times more because it's an AI.
Yeah.
And there's these massive server farms that are analyzing, collecting, calculating.
I'm just seeing
all
this.
of
I'm
these
just seeing the
things.
scene from The Matrix where they're all in
That's-
the eggs in the thing.
That's
when
what
you
I
say that.
That's what I was thinking, right? I mean, now this can be, and this is where again some nuance. This could be good because we get content we like, and that maybe we are into a certain vein, whether that's
Right.
comedy, writing, journalism,
Building community things
politics,
that we like.
politics, and this is great. And now I don't have to. That fire hose is now shaped and orderly. That's awesome. The other end, though, is that now,
Baby Gronk is the other end.
That's right. That's right. The other end is maybe now I'm getting addicted. And maybe I have other life goals or things I'm working on that I'm losing track of because now, yes, I'm on that platform for 3 to 4 to 5 hours. And I'll say this.
You're being generous for some people.
And I'll say this. I mean, that's also built into the design. And that's kind of what I was getting at yesterday, that we got to watch those motives because that design is now
They
capital
want to
related.
keep you in the app. They want to keep you there.
They keep
and
you
not,
there,
not
right.
climbing a tree like those goddamn
So-
conservative kids.
so-
Stop with the conservative kids. I don't know who you are and why you're making them, but for the love of God, stop putting your kids, have them go climb a tree. I don't want some 11-year-old telling me Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. We already know it. I don't need an 11-year-old to tell me, go climb a tree. Sorry.
No, bring it. Bring it.
But like I
get it.
And then the algorithm, because I'll do this where I'll get in there and I'll start commenting because I have such rage. Like Cousin Angelo from the Costco guys gets on there. Like, I'm like, who are you, buddy? Go. I don't know what you're doing, but I'll start writing a comment. And I'm like, dude, first off, it's already been said. There's people have been saying crazy stuff on there already, and it's going to make me look bad, and I'm going to feed the beast that I don't want to feed.
And this is where we have to be mindful of when we design AI or technology or social media platform or algorithm, that it's meeting the human condition.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we're not always mindful of what that means and what it could lead to consequentially.
Well, yeah, it leads to the Costco guys. Everybody knows
No.
what I mean. Do you know the Costco guys?
No.
Okay, well, good. Yeah, that's
Okay.
good for you because
Is that a good thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, I don't think that in the
Okay.
realm of the rage baiters, the Costco guys, I kind of like because it's a father-son duo that started these videos about going to Costco, and then they blew up because of it. But like they are, in my mind, positive. But then you have stuff like the baby Gronk I showed you and the conservative kids, where that's just a money grab. That's just somebody's like, oh, let's see if we can capitalize on some nonsense. And now my kid is making these videos instead of giving him an encyclopedia set. And the parents there aren't saying to their kid, oh, it's okay to be smart. I promise you, baby Gronk's parents are not saying to him, it's okay to be smart. No, he's like, it's okay to rizz up Livy Dunn. Do you even know what that means, Steve?
No.
Baby Gronk rizzed up Livy Dunn. Does that mean anything to you?
No, you were speaking tongues.
Dan's dying back here. So
To me, yeah.
so if you
But you could please, you could school me later.
yeah, it's better. It's better
I think I
that
need
you
a
don't.
lesson.
It's brain rot. That's literally the term for it is brain rot. I'll talk to you later, because
Please.
I don't want to monopolize our time
Yeah.
with baby Gronk. He'll win. That means he wins. All right,
Please.
I'm sorry,
You're good.
but
You're
right.
good.
I mean,
I'm buffering right now. Can you see it? I'm like, I don't know what to say. I think I do.
my
Let me-
God. Oh, you know what's funny? So you taught me some. I remember. So I watched a talk where they said like texting is killing our language, and he was being facetious, but
Yep.
the concept was that texting was this new age thing, and he was writing a thesis on it because it was basically saying, well, when we write, it's a reflective process. We don't often write like we speak. Now, he makes a reference to like the times of like the Gettysburg Address, where in fact people did speak like they wrote. But now, when texting came around, it became fingered speech, is what he called it. And this whole concept of like, you know, just being so this new medium now, and now all of a sudden the game changes, and that's what's happening with AI. Is like we have to understand one. It's like language. Language, they say, can be descriptive and prescriptive. Prescriptive meaning it's the rules we should follow. You say well, not good when someone asks you, how are you? But we know that language is also very descriptive. That's why we have poetry. That's why we have rap music. That's why we have all of this
All
thing.
these great forms.
Because you made a
That's
reference
right.
earlier that made me think of this. Noam Chomsky was a guy out of Philadelphia who was a linguist, and his whole thing was to try to say, does language affect culture or does culture affect language? And when you started talking about the AI, where you were saying like it's changing the way we think, these structures, and the way we interact with it.
100%. It's even
And-
creating new selves, new psychologies.
It's amazing because how many people are creating lives for themselves in this AI world,
Right.
and not living within the real world because they're having virtual dates and they're going out on virtual things.
And I think that these are like, these are the new tools of today, and it's just how do we put the tool to use?
And there's
And that could
it's a perfect
cut
way to say it.
a lot of ways. That can cut into like where we're having the negative and critiques of it, and I think we have to have those conversations too.
Yep.
But I think that it could also cut, if deployed well, to like leading to some breakthroughs and some good thinking, or reaching a larger audience, or telling your story to the world.
Connecting
These
with
are-
people that
These are all
experience the
good
world
uses.
you do.
But it's up to us and back to the human condition to say, you know what, I'm gonna pick up the tool to achieve this goal that I want to achieve, and it brings me fulfillment. And I think it can move the needle on society, and that is a good thing.
And not letting the fear
Right.
dictate that, because that's the
But-
other thing.
But AI is there's gonna be some consequential parts of that conversation that we gotta talk about and get a handle on to make sure that we navigate that road well. But we have done this throughout the centuries, and this is now the conversation of today, and we're having it in real time right now.
Yeah. Well, even that TED Talk that I was talking about, the texting guy, he showed a piece of it where he's like, we always fear things that are new. And he's like, we always have this thing that the younger society is going to be the downfall of society. And he literally in the talk shows
We've been saying that
letters.
for generations.
That's what he's saying. So he showed letters from
right.
principals and superintendents from modern era all the way down to 63 AD of people, the cyclical nature of us always feeling that way. But we have to have the debate. We have to have the people that are anti it and pro it so that we have the debate so that we don't just go blindly into it and
That's
not
right.
ask the right
And
questions.
a healthy discourse, and that we don't have fear to express those views.
That's it. And that's why we're doing this podcast, so that you have a place, that we all have a place to discuss. That's why I started the jaywalking, because I'm like, I want to have discourse on the things that are happening and not be so worried about being filtered about it, and just having open dialogues about the things that either I'm thinking about or I think other people are thinking about and maybe we're not talking about. And so today was, in my opinion, the perfect example of that. Do you have anything to promote? Do you have anything, like you have a book or something coming out? Anything we can... Before we go, I want to make sure that people know where they can find you, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that want to hear more about Stephen J. McConnell.
No, thank you. And I want to say first, thank you for having me on the show and for
100%.
giving this space to have a great conversation. We do need more of this.
Go to level 99.
That's right. Level 99.
That's an inside joke.
Yes. That might take another 10 minutes.
I know that would take another 10 minutes.
I'd say the two big things to look out for is I teach I'm teaching a AI and communication course at NYU this summer, and we typically hold it every summer. So if you're interested, that's something that you could sign up for. That's a Google, if you want to Google that.
Yeah, ChatGPT that.
So that's that, and that's
Right.
available to anybody in the world can take that.
Oh, that's great.
Working professionals, undergraduate students, and graduate students. So you don't have to apply officially to a college and get in. Anybody could take that class.
Oh, that's a good note.
So that's why I want to bring that up too. Teaching at UNC, you go through the undergraduate road, graduate school road. But if you're interested in taking an AI course now, that is available, and there's always open enrollment. And then the second thing, I am working on a book on AI learning and work. So that's a work in progress, but stay tuned. That should be available down the road. But I do got to get my right on.
You strike me more as a we'll find you on LinkedIn kind of guy.
You know me well. You know me well.
You go to TikTok, you're going to see him from the clips from here, but you're not going to see him. You want to see him real, go LinkedIn, NYU, especially
You
that.
know me well, but I am going to branch. I am going to branch out. So when I need some lessons,
I'm here. Me and Baby Gronk, we'll guide
Please.
you. We'll get those conservative kids to help out. It'll be great. The Costco guys will come in, give us a chicken bacon. It'll be fine.
I'm buffering again.
Dude, but I didn't know that, because when you came to New York last year, I didn't realize I could have taken that course.
You could have.
I was hanging out in the Airbnb and then going doing shows at night at like the comedy clubs while he was.
I don't have enough pull to give you a discount, but I'll try to work on it.
All right, I
Okay.
appreciate that. So yeah, I think it's great, because I think there's so many people that are going to have listened to this and just been like, oh, I had no idea, I didn't realize that, or just saying, yeah, I'm letting ChatGPT think for me and not taking a moment to say, because like I've been using, like I said, a
partnership.
sounding board and like talk back
Just
and
like
forth with it,
Yep.
and it's cool because like it's the friend that's not around in a moment when you need to ask it something, and I think that can be really cool.
Or hey, real fast, last point. Or you're feeling that fatigue, like you said, you needed some help composing an email or something that's just a really laborious project. That's good too. It breaks you through, and then you can get that work done, then move on to something else.
I love it. All right, well,
you.
thanks for jaywalking with me.
I appreciate it.
All right,
Good
you guys
time.
share it out,
Thank you.
it, feed the algorithm, take away from Baby Gronk for a minute, and let's pump this out in there today. All right, thanks. Have a great day.